Well, hello and welcome back to the Camo Matrix Deep Dive. This week we'll be looking at Fusion, a pattern developed by Firstlite about 10 years ago, but it still remains a strong pattern for many environments. But before we get into Firstlite Fusion, let me go over a few specials being run by some of my affiliate online stores. Now, being near the beginning of turkey season for 2024, take a look at Nomad's turkey season gear. Now, I have a list of early season gear on the Camo Matrix basic setup pages, but their leafy pant and turkey vests are worth a look if you're curious about new options for your turkey hunting gear arsenal. And if you're in the southeast, the shadow leaf camo may be a good option since we've hit 80 plus degrees already and the foliage is about to explode and dramatically change the landscape to a bright green. I also have the Parakeeto insect repellents, and they have come in. And I've got the backpack clip right here, and I've got the wristband here. And what they take is they take this pellet, and they last about 15 days. And there's also a spray that I've got, and they're DEET free, and they're made with from French natural essential oils. And so the backpack clip can just be clipped on your backpack, or you can wear this along your wrist or on your ankles, wherever you might feel like it might be the best use. And so they're safe for children, they are safe for adults, and so I'll be checking them out during turkey season this year, and I'll report on them later. So if you're looking for a safe insect repellent, these might be good options for you. And so buying either one of these through my affiliate links supports the Camo Matrix channel. And on top of that, any item from any of the 60 plus hunting related companies I have listed on the Camo Matrix support page, anything you need for hunting can be found there and will support the Camo Matrix. For example, here are a few sales that are going on right now, and all these links are going to be down in the description. So TrueTimber has a huge sale on their website just for turkey season. FoxRiver, who makes their socks in Iowa, has a buy three, get one free sale on their socks. TideWe is having an exclusive turkey bundle sale, and it is $73 off of their combo blind and padded turkey vest. And Shields right now has a 40% off section for Firstlite items. So if you're here because this video is about Firstlite Fusion, check out that link. Firstlite Fusion was introduced around 2014 after 2 years of development and testing. The pattern was said to be developed by using the golden ratio in the algorithm that produced the pattern. Now, what is the golden ratio, or phi? Well, the easiest way to describe it would be as if you were to have a trunk of a tree, and then you multiplied it by 1.6, and then of course rounded it to the nearest whole number, which would be 2, and then you increase that number by 1.6, and at that point 2 times 1.6, yeah, you're kind of looking at 3. Then, because we're going to the nearest round number, then again by about 5, it would go to 5, and then multiply that by 1.6, and then we're about 8, and then so on. And so that kind of gives you an idea, and I've got this graphic on screen to kind of show you how that kind of grows exponentially, and it kind of expands in that way. So this ratio can be seen in trees, flowers, landscapes, and therefore it's a great method for reducing a camo because it resembles the natural world. Now, I won't claim to know how Firstlite used this ratio, but it could have been applied to the amount of color used, the increasing or decreasing sizes and shapes, and the edge breakup versus the background color. Now, speaking of color, let's take a closer look at the pattern. The color choices were made to be useful in western lichen, sage, and pine to eastern deciduous hardwoods. So I assume that each color used was made by averaging out what color choice in the spectrum best matches an average green, brown, tan, orange, etc. for each of the environments they use in their research. The basic color for the pattern is a light version of a beige or cream or a taupe color. And on top of this base is a pattern of varying dark and light brown and dark and light green. The largest sections of color seem to be lighter brown that has a touch of rusty color. And some of this color is large and some of these sections are small. And again, the golden ratio was likely used to determine how these colors were scaled and shaped. Now, much of this brownish color is solid without shading, but some of the sections do give way to a green and appear to meet as though a light brown and green paint were placed on a surface and allowed to bleed into each other, creating a depth change between the light brown and green sections of the pattern. Weaved amongst these shapes are a dark brown branch or vein-like shape and a shadow-enhanced branch or vein-like shape that is the same color as the background. And Firstlite calls this their proprietary crackleture to further contrast the hunter's body shape. And these shapes seem to weave over and under the blotches of light brown and green to create a dramatic depth, confusing pattern to help the hunter melt into the background. Now, also peppered into the pattern is subtle shading, and it's used to aid in closer encounters when detail is more important. And this pattern has remained a strong choice for serious hunters, and its use by the Meat Eater crew puts Firstlite's quality through some serious tests, proving its quality and versatility. So let's see how it does in the Camo Matrix. We'll be watching the new YouTube Camo Matrix video. The new video has elk, deer, and pronghorn hunting environments. The backgrounds have been increased from the previous 14 to 24 hunting environments to further help in the never-ending quest for the ultimate hunting camo. So remember that true light, shadow, and reflection will always alter how a pattern appears in real life. And the Camo Matrix is purely a starting point for you to do your own research. So what you can do, we're going to start the video, and if you feel like skipping ahead and watching this video on your own, then go to the Camo Matrix channel and search for Firstlite Fusion 24. And that way you can feel like you can skip ahead. So here we go with Firstlite Fusion in the new Camo Matrix video, and it will go ahead and start here. All right, so what we've got here is it's a standing dead alpine forest. And we're switching, just like in the regular videos, we're going from the foreground to the background and switching from deer vision or from human vision to deer vision. And as you can see that, the color choices they've used and the breakup they've got, does very well in disguising what that shape is, and especially in deer vision. So, you can see how those edges start to be lost in that background when, either when it's close up or far away. In deer vision, and the darkness really lends to the shadows that are there, and the lightness really kind of can confuse that shape, make it feel like it's some of those trees, some of the light that's shining through. So it seems like it does fairly well in a lot of these environments. And of course that's an aspen grove that was in Montana. Here is a willow bottom with some evergreen in the background, but if you find yourself in a willow bottom traipsing around, then this one might pop you out a little bit more if you don't have a light background behind you, or if you don't have something in the foreground. Here we are in it's a meadow that has some evergreen in the background, and we have some aspens there in the foreground. And it might be good if you are around some structure that's around there. Obviously standing alone, no matter what you're wearing, it's going to be giving away your shape. Here we are with a snowy background and in some high alpine. It does really good with those shadows, does really good with the snow that's there. So it would be a great pattern for use in this type of environment if you're in like some late season elk hunting situations. Now here would be what's getting ready to happen right now, which is that bright green turkey season. Wouldn't be optimal if you're in some heavy green because of that light color for the background. But if you're somewhere where you've got some skyline or some bright colors in the background, that would be good. Here we are on this is some Coos deer country in Arizona. Now the background color of the background might pop it out a little bit more, but if you're up against some of those trees that are there, then the tree trunks and the shadowing and the dark colors of the pattern may make itself disguise itself fairly well in there. Now this is another small aspen tree grove. In the right location, I think that it would blend in very well. We've got some pretty big contrast in there to where it made it look like it popped out a little bit. Now this would be a late season. It's a late season tree stand. The light color in that background would make it look like it was almost part of that skyline. I think it would do very well here. Now, of course, they have Spectre, which they designed for that, but this is also a great alternative. Here's that lichen covered mountaintop, which is what they've designed it for. And when we switch to deer vision, or in this case, maybe pronghorn vision, it does pretty well at disguising itself to match those colors. Now, this was a kind of a multicolored thicket that was, I think this was in South Dakota, and it does pretty well. If you were stationary and standing still, and it would do pretty good with disguising itself with the shadows, with the darkness and lightness. Not optimal, but good all around spot pattern so far. This was it's kind of a lowland grassy area. Pretty good in here. There's still not great on the background color, but just because of the shadows that are in it, it does fairly well with disguising what that human shape is, and which that's the whole point of what we're trying to do. This is a dry riverbeds this is eastern Montana. Good mule deer company, good country, good pronghorn country. I saw both of them there. It would be out in the open would be a tough one, but if you had some cover, it might disguise you pretty well. And this is another, I think this is South Dakota, another multicolored thicket that's in here. Does pretty good because of that. You can see that mountain in that background where it goes up that hillside. Same kind of coloring that's in the background is there. Now, any of you guys, hunt. The reason why I put this in there is because some, people that hunt doves, if for the patterns that they're looking for, they may want to disguise themselves to look like they're in the cornfields. So that's why I have this background in there. And obviously the contrast for it is not perfect. It's just not great for a cornfield edge. So we got some rocky, sagey backgrounds here. Pronghorn country, mule deer country. Pretty good in disguising itself there. So we some grassy pine mountaintops here. Because of that skyline, it would really do well if you've got that light poking through. It does pretty good in disguising itself with the shadow shapes, with the dark and the light pattern. Now, another snowy one. This is heavy snow, good, heavy dusting on this environment. When it gets switched to deer vision, if you had some prey that was walking by and you were stationary, that light color on that pattern would look just like the snow in the background, and the dark section would look just like the branches or the trees that are back there. Now this is that grayed out hardwoods that I've got. It would do fairly well in the right locations here, but I think I've said this in the previous ones, that grayed out background for those trees makes it kind of hard to get a really contrasting pattern to blend in fairly well. Got another one here where it's another pine tree forest. This actually might have been in Nebraska, and with the background light poking through and low foliage at that time of the year, it's a good pattern for that area. Now here we've got an early season bow tree stand set up. That contrast of that light and dark color of the pattern really makes it appear like it might be part of that tree canopy. So a good pattern here also. And then here's another one that's kind of an early fall. So we've got thinning tree foliage. We've got varying colors in there. And when we switch to deer vision, it does very well at disguising itself there. So I think it's a great pattern for that location. You can see right there, it really just blends itself into that whole environment. Now here we've got some high plains desert, a lot of sage here. So in human vision, it pops itself out, but the coloring as it changes from for deer vision and how it blends itself into that background, pretty good. So it would be a good option for that location. So there we go. With that's the new Camo Matrix videos. So if you're looking for to investigate a pattern a little bit more, I'm going to do it by request. So last year I did every single pattern I could get my hands on. So it was 150 some camo patterns that I did back to back. So you had one every single day of the week. So what I'll do, any kind of requests, I'll add these new videos with the new patterns on them, and I'll also do them for each one of these videos. So now the Firstlite Fusion pattern will be run about the same time that this video is being released. So Firstlite Fusion is a good choice for many environments and make a great choice for the serious hunter with a healthy budget. So let's build a few basic setups and see what those costs could be. An early season setup and a turkey season setup might be the trace pant at $150, the trace quarter zip $100 for the top, a trace tech cap, and also the trace gloves at $40. And the trace tech cap is $35. So the trace line is designed to help keep you cool through its breathability and its quick dry capacities. And its built-in stretch lets you move freely, and the odor control technology prevents the need for overwashing it. So this setup would cost you about $325 for an early season or a turkey season setup. Now a mid-season setup would consist of the Origin hoodie, which is $170, or the corrugated guide jacket at $130, the Obsidian Foundry pant at $200, and the Arrow Wool Touch Liner gloves at $30. And these would give you a little bit more warmth for cool mornings and evenings, but are still built around movement and the ability to regulate temperatures in the warmer parts of the day. And these choices would put you in at about $360 to $400. Now, a late season basic setup might consist of the Uncompahgre 2.0 puffy jacket at $220, the Uncompahgre puffy pant at $195, the brimmed merino beanie at $35, and an alpine cold weather glove, which costs a little bit more at $120. And these choices would certainly keep you warm, but would set you back about $570. So this brings a full season basic setup just north of about $1,250. And there's many options that they have beyond the ones that I picked that could bring the cost up or down. And there's no doubt that Firstlite is going to hit your wallet a little bit harder than some of the other options that are out there, but rest assured you're paying for the engineering and the research that goes into each one of the items that you're getting. Now you should expect years of use out of each one of these items, but I guess the problem is that they keep bringing out new stuff that Steve, Mark, Yanni, Clay, and Cal all make look so sexy. So, if you like the look of Fusion, but you want to find a similar option, let's take a look at some of these comparisons and see what you think. So there's Connec Outvision. Now it's a larger pattern, but there's similar colors, maybe a little bit more green in it. But take a look at how they look side by side with Firstlite Fusion, and you can see that there's the bigger sections of it might make it look a little bit different, but it's got that same background and may break up that shape a little bit better, or about the same. It just has those larger sections. Now Skre Bellow Husk Camo. Now if you notice in human vision it's not nearly as close, but let's switch over to deer vision, and that darker, it's got a slightly darker background, but similar kind of shape breakup. So not exactly the same, but it's another option. And here's King's Camo XK7. So similar background in deer vision if you look at it, and similar breakup with some a little bit larger dark sections on it. You've got Kryptek Skyfall. Now similar shapes and color, very close in deer vision. At a quick glance, you'd almost may not even be able to tell a difference between them. Now, Predator, Brown Deception. There's some large shapes on this pattern, same kind of color in the background, but same color, bigger shapes. It just depends on what you're looking for. Another option for you. Skre Solace, they've got similar shapes. The background is very close to the same thing. So take a look at how they look. A good option there if you're looking for something similar to Fusion. And there's also TrueTimber O2 Whitetail. Now the pattern, again, larger like a couple of the others, but similar colors, similar background also. Now these patterns may be similar to Firstlite Fusion. So do your research, and if Fusion is right for you, make the investment and make it last for years to come. Or you can sell it. In good shape, these items hold their value. And as good as Fusion is, remember the best camo is to remain still and be quiet. But if you sink a healthy amount of cash into your camo, you're going to claim that your success has to do with your camo.